North Korea has placed the city of Kaesong under lockdown over concerns of a coronavirus case. Leader Kim Jong-un has declared a state of emergency in the area.
It's no secret that there was a disastrous lockdown globally as the COVID-19 chaos broke out in 2020. And now, after almost 4 years, will North Korea finally open the borders and allow citizens to come home? After declaring the first confirmed COVID-19 case, North Korea declared a national lockdown that it has kept in place since 2022. Even though the number of COVID-19 cases decreased, North Korea did not ease its curfew. International borders were closed by North Korean officials at the start of the epidemic in 2020. To stop the coronavirus from contaminating the underdeveloped healthcare system of the nation, almost all cross-border exchanges, including travel, diplomatic missions, and delivery and trade, were halted. The state is now widening its doors as the national carrier of North Korea, Air Koryo, has resumed flights from Pyongyang to Beijing and Vladivostok, a port city in Russia. Even before passenger travel resumed, the amount of freight transported by rail and waterways has also been on the rise. As the head of a totalitarian state that has tightly controlled the interactions with the outside world for 7 decades, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was an expert at social isolation long before the virus outbreak. However, this time has been exceptional even by Kim's standards. According to experts and human rights campaigners, the Kim government used the coronavirus as justification to restrict people's economic and social rights more severely. The border barriers that prevented illicit commerce with China harmed North Korea's civilian economy, which is driven by underground business people. Kim puts limits on the free movement, gathering and access to information of common people while stressing the dangers of COVID-19 exposure. The protracted isolation has exacerbated the nation's long-standing food insecurity, increasing the population's reliance on Kim's autocratic rule. The past 3.5 years of self-isolation provided an ideal environment for the North Korean leadership to exert control over all realms, from one's way of life to the economy, claimed Rachel Min-young Lee, a senior analyst with the Open Nuclear Network in Austria. Due to restrictions on entry, foreign diplomats, trade delegations, and aid workers are unable to provide first-hand information to those outside the country. A larger chance of information inflows and outflows will make North Korea's current policy of increased centralization more difficult to implement, according to Lee. But what's going on within North Korea? The pandemic has caused the window to close abruptly. North Korea attempted to maintain its self-reliance during the lockdown by strengthening local manufacturing in a few specific industries, including textiles and agriculture. According to cyber specialists, the dictatorship has stepped up its cybercrime operations to steal foreign currency in the form of cryptocurrencies and other virtual assets. However, observers claim that deteriorating economic conditions have forced the Kim government to look for foreign assistance and partially reopen its borders to trade. Hao Jong-pil, a professor of North Korean studies at Dongguk University in Seoul, stated that Kim had reached a breaking point due to the cost of isolation that had accumulated over the years. According to predictions made by the Central Bank of South Korea, the North Korean economy contracted for 3 years starting in 2020. Essential trade between the North and its ally China fell to a historic low of $320 million in 2021, a 90% decrease from levels before the pandemic. The first half of 2023 saw a quick recovery in commerce with China, reaching $1.06 billion after a modest return of freight activity. According to parliamentary briefings by South Korea's National Intelligence Service, since then, railway connections between North Korea and China have expanded to twice daily, and certain custom facilities reopened in June. Even though it's happening at a slower rate than with China, trade with Russia is growing. Since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Moscow has become more and more isolated from the rest of the world, which has pushed it closer to the Kim regime. Cho Han-boom, an analyst at Seoul's Korea Institute for National Unification, claimed that North Korea had a capacity to promptly supply Russia with the sought-after munitions, following a full reopening of the land route between the two nations. North Korean citizens who were stuck in China and Russia during the influenza lockdown will be returned to their home country by Pyongyang. To return North Korean people, Air Koryo restarted its flights to Beijing and Vladivostok. Health officials in North Korea said that they had authorized the return of their people who were overseas, with the claim of change in the severity of their anti-epidemic attitude due to the eased worldwide pandemic situation. Returnees will be watched over for a week in quarantine wards. These are their opportunities to go home, because many of them have been trapped abroad for more than 3.5 years, according to Simon Cockerell, general manager of Beijing-based Koryo Tours, a North Korea tour company. Students studying abroad, diplomats, workers, and arrested defectors in China are among those from North Korea faced with impending return. Beijing, a strong friend of Pyongyang, views defectors from North Korea as economic migrants rather than refugees. According to some observers, North Korea may push for the export of more employees to replace those who have been sent home. Despite international sanctions that forbid hiring foreign labor, they serve as a significant source of foreign cash for the regime. If you're enjoying our video so far, please do us a favor and give us a thumbs up so that it's easier for people to find on YouTube. Thank you. Despite the sluggish reopening, it's still uncertain how the country is doing with COVID-19. In August 2022, 3 months after the country initially reported an epidemic, North Korea's leader Kim proclaimed a hotly contested victory over the coronavirus. As the world reopens, North Korea is one of just 2 countries without vaccines, which made it resort to a severe lockdown because it lacked vaccines to fight the virus, and the country managed to stay shut until the pandemic began to wane globally, says An Kyung-soo of the Seoul-based research center dprkhealth.org. COVID-19 continues to pose a threat to the nation's poor healthcare system, but according to An, the need for its reopening has grown more urgent than the threat. The borders have been gradually reopening, he said, to provide the North's health officials adequate time and resources to make essential preparations. When visitors from abroad will be allowed to enter Korea is still a matter of speculation in Pyongyang. However, there are hints that the Kim administration will gradually permit entry for accredited diplomats, relief workers, and tourists. While being extremely cautious at the moment, North Korean officials do require opportunities to raise foreign cash, which is ultimately why they want foreigners to return. The North Korean government recently passed a bill aimed at expanding foreign travel, giving the impression that the regime is getting ready to welcome more visitors, but it's not obvious when exactly that's going to happen. No one knows when a border opening for foreign tourists will happen, but given that they do tend to move slowly and that the opening for North Koreans has just begun, it's expected to be sometime later, added Cockerell. So, in short, North Korea's extended COVID lockdown, lasting almost 4 years, is finally showing signs of easing. If you found our video useful, please be sure to like and subscribe and click the notification bell to be alerted to all new content drops. For additional content from our channel, check your screen now for prompts to take you to other videos. And, as always, thank you very much for choosing to spend your time with us today. We'll see you in the next video.